Brandon again, your favorite author, media, let's see, minimal media personality. What else can we throw in there? And I decided to put this Mother's Day video together because I wanted to talk to you guys about a few things. I have two sons, and I just love them to pieces. And each chapter of their life ends up with having its own challenges, but having incredible joys. So for me as a mother, I'm still always mom, but my job may change a little bit. And so I've got one son who's 30 years old and another one who is 22 years old. And sometimes I think about what was it like when I was their ages. They go off and they do their thing, and my sons, they both come in and they'll tell me what's going on in their lives. They still kind of look at me like I'm kind of goofy when I talk about some of the woo-woo stuff. According to them, that's what it's called, woo-woo stuff. They do sort of pay attention when I give readings, and they're interested to hear what it was that came through on the readings. They're, as opposed to throwing their hands up and saying I'm totally nuts, they now listen. And then also, along with all the books, One Last Hug Before I Go, A Glimpse of Heaven, Heavenly Hugs, not to mention the other titles, Learning to Say No, Is It Love or Is It Sex, and a host of other topics. They know that maybe mom knows something, but they still have to figure some things out for themselves, and it's my job to let them do that. So it isn't my job to cram down their throats information about the afterlife or about things that I do as a medium. It's my job to let them travel their own journey and be there when they have questions. And this got me to thinking about my own time, my own childhood, what it was like when I was their age. As many of you know, my mother passed away when I was just 16. And I had several powerful departing visions. But of course, I didn't have anybody to talk to. Hi, Josh. Hi. I didn't have anybody to talk to about those. And so I tucked them away and eventually got into some very self-destructive behavior as a consequence to not knowing how to grieve, not knowing how to have my feelings about my mom transitioning me. And then, when I was my oldest son's age, around 30, some of that kind of began to come back to me. And I'd also at that time had some mediumistic experiences, but again, there was no one to talk to. And by this time, I was in my profession. I was a practicing therapist. But still, I didn't have anybody to talk to about what was going on. And so I continued, as a therapist, to still be a bit self-destructive in my own private life. As far as being 22, when I was 22 years of age, that's when things really blew up. They just totally blew up. I remember being in graduate school, and one of the professors was talking about alternative healing methods, and I just lost it, and I actually walked out of the classroom. And that also had to do with my inability to grieve in a healthy way. And so I see that today in people around me who preach a lot of atheism, or they get angry at anything alternative or anything that has to do with afterlife contact, that a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have some unfinished business with somebody they have lost. And so one of the pleasures that I have is to be able to be present for people who contact me and say to me, I have never had an experience like this. I'm a young person. Here's what happened. Here's what I saw. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to about it. It's a pleasure for me to be able to fill that void for them. As it is for my own sons when they come to me and they need to talk about things that are challenging or troubling them. One of my sons lost a couple of his classmates to overdoses, and so it was my job, it was my duty to be there for him, not just as a mother, but as a spiritual being, to be there for him and listen to him talk about what that felt like to have several of his best friends overdose, and him feeling like he should have done something about it, and to be able to share with him they had a disease called chemical dependency and there was nothing that you could do about that. So recently I received contact with somebody who will remain anonymous, who had lost a parent, and they had been in the room with the parent as the parent began to transition. And what they saw was a mist leaving the body, and they didn't really know where to go with that or who to talk about that with. And so, as happens so often, what they did is they Googled mist at death, and of course my name popped up, and they got in touch with me. And one of the questions that came up, and here's what I'm really wanting to talk about, is this. Of course, this person had never had an experience like this. This person was a very successful, creative individual who was successful as a consequence to their creativity. And this individual, oh, hi, Michael, how are you?
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing a video about the mist that is seen when someone is beginning to transition.
Okay.
And I know you've been there.
Yes.
And you've seen that.
Yes.
So just wave. Just come and wave to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be seen.
Yes, he did see the mist leave his father's body as his father began to transition. So this individual needed some information about not only the mist, but why was it that she was the only person who saw this mist leaving the body, and that others in the room didn't see this? Now, this is a question I've gotten on numerous occasions. I shared one account with you guys where there was somebody and their minister was there, and the two of them saw the mist, but nobody else in the family saw the mist. And they had questions about that. So here again, we had somebody else asking, why did I see the mist and nobody else saw the mist? Well, I have several theories about this. I think that some people who see the mist may have mediumistic ability, and they just haven't really learned how to address it. They haven't received the proper mentorship for it, guidance for it, because anybody who has mediumistic ability really does need a teacher. They need to have somebody in their lives who can help them sort some of this stuff out. That's just one theory, that they have some mediumistic ability. The other theory is that, and this was also brought up by the most recent experiencer, sometimes I think that there are those who need the experience more than others do, or they are ready for that experience, and maybe others aren't. And so they have the experience of seeing the mist, or of seeing the bright light, or having the shared departing vision experience where they actually travel to a point with the person who is passing on, and they see where their loved one is going, or they have the visitation from grandma who shows up at the end of the bed to tell them goodbye. So that's another theory. Now, I'm not real big on that theory. The third one is, I think that sometimes our emotions can get in the way. Now, I want you to hear me out real clear here. All emotions are good if dealt with responsibly, even anger. Having anger in a responsible fashion is important. It helps us cleanse ourselves. Having our grief in a responsible fashion, not using alcohol or drugs to cover it up, or not burying it, or workaholicking ourselves to death, or a variety of other behaviors. It's important for us to have our grief. If it gets to a point where we can't leave the house, then we definitely need to seek out some help from a helping professional like myself. So I think that there are some people who are in such distress, such emotional distress, that it's not time for them to have an experience like that. And there's nothing wrong with having those emotions. Some people even feel numb. They will feel absolutely numb. They won't feel any feelings. All other feelings feel, they're too much to feel. And so what they do is they don't like intentionally go numb, but the emotion numb sort of takes over everything. So those are just a couple of my theories. And you know what? I'm probably wrong because nobody's given me the word. But I do know that there are a lot of you out there who have had this question. Why haven't I been contacted yet? Why didn't I have a departing vision? Why didn't I see anything? Somebody recently told me that they had had a serious car accident and they didn't have the typical near-death experience, and that they searched forever to try to figure that out. And after I heard about what they went through, my only comment was, maybe it wasn't time yet for you to have that sort of experience. It sounds like you had enough on your plate. So just because you haven't had an experience, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It may mean that maybe there are other things going on that need your attention at that moment. So what I'm going to share with you one more time is I'm going to share with you how to induce contact with your loved ones. What you do is you get a bunch of pictures of your loved one. You put them in frames. You clean them up. Photoshop them to clean them up. Do what you got to do. And then put them in nice frames. And then put them in your bedroom on one table. And have a candle there that you can light, or some incense, or a vase where you can put flowers. You can put flowers in the vase. But something that means something to you. And then every night before you go to bed, what you do is you look at these pictures. And along with these pictures, you're going to have your favorite small item that was a personal belonging of your loved one who has moved on. And you're going to pick it up and you're going to hold it. You're going to feel it. And while you're holding it, you're going to close your eyes. And you're going to visualize your loved one. And you're going to tell your loved one that you really, really miss them and you would like to have a conversation with them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put that personal item down. And then you're going to get into your bed and you're going to close your eyes one more time and visualize that departed loved one and let them know that you would like for them to come visit you in a dream, or however they would like to come visit you, that you are open. And then you're going to have a pad and a pencil next to your bedside. Or you can have your cell phone and you can open up your notepad and you can, type in that. Whatever works for you. But what I want you to do is I want you to take note of how you feel when you wake up. If you have any emotions going on, some people start out by waking up feeling like they've been crying or they've been struggling or they're tired or weepy. And you're going to go ahead and write down those emotions. Or you may feel nothing. That's okay too. Any bad dreams that you have, because a lot of times we begin by having some of those grief dreams, and they can be very symbolic, and go ahead and write those down. And then write down any positive dreams that you have. I had this wonderful dream of myself sitting on top of a hill. And there was this whole, below me it was green, 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 and lots of flowers. And there was a pathway leading up to the hill, to where the bench was. And I saw somebody coming up the pathway, and they came and they sat next to me, and it was my mother. She came to me in an after physical death vision. And I don't know what we said. I know we talked. And then we hugged. And then she got up and she left, and she took that path back to the afterlife. I didn't see the afterlife. I just saw her leave. So that's just one example of one of my experiences. So go ahead and try this. No, it's not going to happen right away. If it doesn't happen in the first week, month, 2 months, don't worry about it. Persist and keep it up. Okay? So I'm going to go off and I'm going to spend some time with my family, and we're going to celebrate Mother's Day, and my sons are going to tell me all the horrible stories about things that I did that embarrassed them, like wearing a tie-dye t-shirt and tie-dye socks at the mall on purpose and following them while they were trying to get away from me. So I hope that you have a really good rest of the week and a good evening. And be sure to contact me if you have any questions. Take care.